A real piece of shit. It's really bad, hence the price. I assume a luthier can hit the spot with the setup, and the Bigsby does not inspire any trust. Brand new, it's almost $1,500. That's South American prices for you. I'll hand it over for $850 and let it continue on its way. I don't blame this guy one bit. I blame the internet, as I usually do, for spreading garbage all over the place and tarnishing the reputation of the Bigsby. Long live the Bigsby. 2022, not that it really matters. Epiphone Emperor Swingster in black aged gloss, so not gloss, might as well call it just black, we didn't bother with the gloss part. Looks mighty fine though, like really, this guitar is all class. Okay. What are we dealing with here? We're dealing with a jazz box, more precisely one of the Emperor persuasion. There's nothing otherworldly about it at first glance, which means Epiphone did a great job of nailing the looks because there is some slightly unorthodox stuff going on here as well. But first things first, what is an Emperor? Well, what isn't? Epiphone has named so many things Emperor over the years that it's kinda hard to keep track. So let's make this quick. Emperor has been just about anything from 1935 all through the 50s and even up until now. It's like the Telecaster of jazz boxes. Anything can be a Tele and anything can be an Emperor. And the Emperor can run around naked, and so could you. Originally though, the Emperor was Epiphone's response to the Gibson Super 400, a proper carved archtop, 18.5-inch bout, top-of-the-line instrument, and it kinda stayed like that without even a cutaway, let alone electronics, for most of its time, until Gibson came in. And we all know Gibson has a thing for consistency. It fucking hates it like the plague. And the plague has AIDS, and it wants to kiss you. So, from 58 on, the Emperor has been whatever Gibson thought it should be at the time, like a jazz box de jour. It was kind of a 335 for a couple of years, it's been a Super 400, an ES5 of sorts, but if you were born in the last 50 years, none of that matters, because the Emperor is a Joe Pass 2, the end, and there is no Joe Pass 1, the Joe Pass 1 is an ES175. Anyway, on whatever week this was conceived, Emperor meant Gretsch. Now, is it meant to be a 5120, or a 5150, or 2420? I have no idea. I can't tell one Gretsch from another to save my ass, but I do know that if you painted this thing orange and you cover the headstock, anyone would guess Gretsch. Ironically, that's the only color that seems not to be available anymore on Epiphone's website, which... good. It was a bit too much. I could go on with the Gretsch comparison thing and talk about bracing and neck thickness and that Gretches usually have the pickups closer together while this has these things that look like Gretsch puckers but they're not, and unlike on a Gretsch, they're as far apart as possible, plus the fact that it has only 20 frets while Gretches usually have 22, so the neck pickup is even further apart. But I won't. Enough about Gretsch, not the same guitar. It does mess with you though. Alright, let's get into some specs here. It's a full hollow body, 16-inch lower bout, 2 3/4-inch depth at the rim. I have no idea what the full depth is. I don't think it matters. Basic pair of parallel braces and a sloppy inside. Well, what did you expect? It's not a 10 grand ES5. Had I never shown you, you would have never known. The box is layered maple all around, and while it could be a bit louder acoustically, that's not the point here. And once you plug it in, it sounds absolutely huge, but bright and rich, and you definitely find a use for the tone knobs on this one, so there's that. Still fun to play on the couch if that's your thing, even if it's a hefty 3.55 kilograms or 7.83 units of the olden days, it will do some acoustication of sorts. The neck is a healthy round chunk of mahogany topped with quite a nice piece of laurel, which you can barely see because there's binding and big as inlays and even more binding, and even the frets look huge. They're not. They're just medium jumbo, whatever that means. Nobody knows what medium jumbo is. Either way, there seems to be a lot going on here. Visually, at least, it takes a minute to get used to playing this fretboard. It also looks like you have miles to spare on either side of the strings. You don't. It's 35mm string spacing over 43mm nut, but the frets look like they're hanging over this past what should be considered the actual fretboard area, so it tricks you into thinking that it's wider. The frets themselves are finished very well, albeit with some minor tooling marks, and the binding is a bit rolled on the edges, so it feels like it's one continuous curve your hand wraps around, and yes, this is a sub $1,000 guitar. Onto the nut, it's a Graphic new bone, and on this particular specimen it was cut as if it were a fucking lap steel. Here's what it looks like after filing only the first slot to a more pleasant height. What you're seeing is the first string sitting 24 mils lower than it was before, and it could comfortably go much lower. Then the rest of the slots were like a depiction of the Hong Kong skyline, like look at these measurements I took. It was choose your own adventure on this thing. But even if you ignore heights, it was filed horribly. It looked like it was done with a Dremel at low speed. No wonder the previous owner complained about tuning instability. I mean, stop blaming your Bigsby for your tuning issues. Check the knot. That's likely the issue, especially when headstock geometry doesn't exactly help things. Look at this thing. It's huge. Seriously, why do jazz guitars have to have these unnecessarily large headstocks with stupid string angles? I guess looks, but then we're used to such looks because everyone does it, so which one came first? Luckily, a careful filing job took care of that, and the Grover Rotomatics do help as well. Then onto the other side of the 24 3/4 inch scale over a 12-inch radius fretboard, we have a licensed Bigsby vibrato with a wire handle, because this guitar is all about looks, and I absolutely love this wobbly bar. It gives a nice grip and a precision-like feeling to the vibrato, but most importantly, it just looks classy. And it seems to be built well enough, although someone did strip the screws on the back, so maybe not the most solid piece ever, but it does move freely, and once I did the knot thing, stability is great, provided you don't assume this is a Floyd Rose, of course, but it does seem to take a lot of abuse to really get it out of tune. Seriously, I spent more than an hour being a complete idiot with it as I filmed this thing, and then proceeded to try and prove some kind of a point on Instagram while doing this dumb shit you see me doing here, and after all that, only the A string was just a little bit sharp. So yeah, tuning stability is indeed quite amazing. Why this bridge? Described by Epiphone as a locked-on tunematic on a pinned wooden base. First of all, it is indeed pinned, meaning it won't walk around on you, which I can't see a reason not to do on this day and age, or ever, to be honest, considering this is a fretted instrument, not a fucking Byzantine lyra or some shit. Pinned should be the norm. The base does not perfectly match the curvature of the top though, and yes, I did try the other way around, and I concluded that it's just Chinese. Indonesian, whatever. What really matters is that it rocks. Much like on an offset Fender, the bridge moves along with the strings, meaning don't be an asshole and lubricate the saddles. Just let friction do its thing. Rocking is not a bug, it's a feature. So as long as the knot is filed properly, the Bigsby moves freely, and the strings don't slide over the saddles, this should be bordering Telecaster stability. Makes me wonder if Leo saw this rocking on an early Bigsby equipped guitar and then threw that into his offset bridge design. I know he and Paul Bigsby were buddies, even headstock buddies at some point, might as well have buddied his way through that innovation as well. Whatever, the point is the Bigsby works great and it simply brings the whole look together. And even if you don't use it, you have all this extra string length behind the bridge attached to the wobbly end back there, and which makes the entire thing feel elastic and soft on the fingers, and it fills the sound with sympathetic overtones, like a light shimmery reverb in the background, again much like on an offset. But unlike an offset, this thing has this big box of resonance down here, which by the way could probably be a bit more resonant, because I measured the thickness of the finish at a few points when I was inspecting it, and it sits around 0.46 millimeters or around 170 thousandths of an inch, which is not the thinnest of finishes by any stretch of the imagination. Could be worse, yes, but it could be immensely better, especially talking about an arch top where, freely moving wood and resonance, it kinda is a thing. It does look great though, and I'm glad it's the black version because the other ones look awesome, especially the green one. But there's no way I can confidently pull off forest green metallic and that glittery orange binding without wearing a full-on 50s outfit, suspenders and all, as I cruise around downtown on my 1952 Studebaker Commander convertible, smoking unfiltered Chesterfields, Ray-Ban wafers at 10 p.m., top down, smell my cologne from the sidewalk. I am Sperm Enforcer guy. Also, the VOSH thing looks impeccable, and I don't care for relic finishes of any sort, ever, but this thing looks tremendously beautiful, in the same way a well-driven and even better loved 1962 Ford F100 in Vista Green looks on a sunny spring Sunday afternoon right before the golden hour hits. Kinda beautiful. You go back selectively to a better, simpler place in time where you're unsurprisingly dead center within the demographic bracket that will still have all their teeth well into the 30s and can get into any bar and pay for his own drinks and hold the glass with 5 healthy fingers still attached to the hand and don't need to explain to anyone why you're not deployed to whatever conflict is going on at the time and have not had your ass grabbed into a numbness in the last 5 minutes or your mug smacked for burning a toast because you don't have a snatch. That's like me when I play The Witcher, all cocky with my potions and my swords and my mare, because it's not a horse, it's a mare, stopping by some man to play Gwent and romanticizing about what it must have been like in the olden days to find cover from the rain and rest my gay-ass lute on the table, or whatever faggot instrument I would carry around in that era. As I order some ale and victuals to the innkeep and warm my hands by the fire, like I wouldn't be robbed and raped and gutted and raped again in some other horrific permutation of all those things at once in like the first 5 minutes after I Bill and Ted my way across some space-time portal. Anyway, I did mention some slightly unorthodox stuff being a part of this here time-traveling guitar, one of them being a truss rod, which is dual action, which I guess is a bit out of place on a guitar that is so obviously trying to cosplay a long-gone era, but I'm glad it's there, because I did need to add some bow on this one, a rare thing I only remember doing twice, both on Epiphones, the other one being my own 339. While we're at it, the truss rod knot is kinda 4mm, but not really. The wrench wiggles a lot, but none of the imperial sizes matched either, which is kinda odd. I've never had this much of a wiggle before on a truss rod knot, and it doesn't exactly inspire much confidence, to be honest, although it does move easily, so I don't expect it to strip anytime soon. Still, not ideal. What will definitely strip if you're not careful are some of these screws, especially the ones on the pickguard mount, which seemed quite soft when I took it off, so I'm warning you before you take it off yourself, because fuck the pickguard. Holy shit, I'm on fire with the Segways today. Yeah, fuck the pickguard. I left it on because I'm reviewing the thing as it left the factory, but just look at it without it. And it's horribly uncomfortable. Can somebody please explain to me what's the deal with the jazz boxes and the pickguard being on top of the pickup rings? Like, Gibson does the same thing, and so does Gretsch, but it's really annoying and in the way, and it doesn't provide any kind of a better support for the hand, and it doesn't even look better. In fact, it looks half-assed, like they forgot to cut it or something, which is not how all Emperors used to be. Speaking of half-assed, holy Segways, he's on fire! But seriously, folks, what's the deal with this awfully crooked pocket chip? Why is it glued in place? Meaning I can never look at it ever again. Oh, and speaking of controls, the knobs... Okay, I think the Segway train has lost all momentum. Anyway, the knobs are zip codes apart from each other, and I don't know, maybe putting them closer together would look weird. I'm not a designer, dude, but I do get to reflect upon the choices I'm making while I'm getting from one knob to the next. At least the Bigsby is so much more out of the way than I'm used to, meaning I can access the controls easier than on most Bigsby-equipped guitars. But while we're on the subject of electronics, I'm glad it's nothing like a Gretsch on this aspect, and I think it's getting back. Woo! Oh yeah, electronics, Gretsch. Okay. Get it together now. How does this compare to a Gretsch? Keeps going back to the Gretsch thing, but good segue. Okay, well, thank you for the question. Well, I have never played a proper Gretsch before, so I have no idea, but I, for one, am thrilled that it doesn't have 16 volume knobs. I'm all for switches and mods and stupid features, and did I say switches? But a volume knob after another volume knob with no distortion in between is plain stupid and yet another place where treble goes to die. Good thing this is a good old run-of-the-mill, God-fearing 4-knob and a 3-way with push-pulls. What the shit? Okay, no need to panic, let's all settle down. There's a good reason for these, and what's more important, a usefulness to them. These are not splits. That's good already, because let's face it, splits on a jazzbox/wing-a-dinga guitar, not buying it. But how about serious parallel switching? I mean, it's not like we're trying to be really vintage accurate here. Oh, we kinda were? Well, not anymore, we're not. Here's a 50s throwback with 4-conductor pickups and push-pulls, like you thought the Laurel fretboard wasn't already off character enough. So, you have these kind of a Filtertron looking, but not really type of humbuckers here, and when you pull on the respective tone knobs, the coils go from series to parallel, which is a quackier, single coil-like sound, and I almost tricked you, didn't I? It's the other way around. Yep, by default, the moment you get this guitar, it's Quack City. The normal setting on this humbucker equipped just looking like fat box of 50s cosplay machine is both coils of each humbucker wired in parallel. Not both pickups in parallel like the normal middle position, no. Both coils within the same pickup are in parallel instead of in series. Yes, that needed to be clarified at least 7 times, mostly because 4 out of 5 videos get it wrong, and yes, that includes the official Epiphone YouTube channel. Anyway, it's very confusing at first because you're not disappointed, I guess, but kind of disoriented. Like, such a guitar should not sound this classy and trebly and crystal clear when you first grab it, but it does exactly that. And in the middle position, it'll whack with the best of strats. Well, maybe not that much, but it's 4 freaking coils in parallel. And then you pull on the knobs, expecting the same thing you always get when pulling on a knob. Freddy's whiskey breath and tender threads. No, I mean the sound to get thinner and quieter and humminger, noisier, but it just comes at you like a kick to the forehead. It puts both coils in series like on any other humbucker ever in the universe, and you had all the amp settings and everything else set for parallel coils, and you don't see it coming. And yes, those parallel sounds are great and glassy and with the woodiness and all that of the hollow blah 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 blah, but the humbuckers are and they jazz. And you know what I like the most out of them? I haven't the slightest inkling of an idea of what they remind me of, what they're supposed to be based on. And I'm sure not a single potential buyer of this kind of guitar in the right mind would give half a baked dirt about what they are, provided the whole combo works, of course. But seriously, how often do you see someone asking for a suggestion on what pickups to stick on a, I don't know, an ES 175 or something like that? On a Les Paul though? People will order one online, and on the same pull of the trigger, they will order some overly expensive set of humbuckers that claim to be made of whatever Joe Bonamassa puts on his toast in the morning, and they will rip out a set of perfectly functioning 57 Classics, which is one of the best pickup sets ever made, without having even heard them. Now on this kind of guitar, they do a thing, and that thing is good, and they look cool, and that's all that matters. Epiphone didn't even bother saying that they're the counterpart to any Gibson part, like which they love to at least hint at, but in this case, they didn't even bother saying which kind of magnets it has. It just says Swingbucker. It's the ones that this guitar has, and that's all you need to know about that. Now, like I said, there's 2 very distinct sounds out of each pickup. The parallel sound, which is supposed to be a somewhat Filtertronish kind of a thing, because look at all this metal, and the series sound, which is what they actually sound like. Now, I don't normally do sounds on these reviews because they're reviews and not demos, but how else can I explain this thing switching that is so badly represented everywhere? Just listen to this. Alright, quick and painless. Neck pickup, push-pull in, meaning parallel mode, then I'll pull out, meaning humbucking mode, and then I'll repeat the same thing for the metal and bridge positions. Alright, here we go. It is one of those you have to be in the room to actually be able to tell kind of situations, plus there's a big jump in output. But my main take here is that the parallel settings sound very single coil-like minus the hum. It does trick you into a Filtertron-like kind of thing though, at least compared to my TV Jones classic set, which is the only actual in-person reference I can use at the moment. The neck is a little bit more convincing than the bridge. Like, neck on full hum is very fat and very humbucker-like, but when put in parallel, combined with the hollow body and the la 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 la, it does a little nice scratchy thing. Bridge is actually closer on full humbucker mode though, while in parallel it's very Stratocastery, and the middle can be a mix of anything, so yeah. Baseline is, they can dress it as a Tron, but at least when it comes to pole spacing and general size, it's a regular humbucker. And I did measure them, which I never do, but here's so you can see what happens with the series parallel thing. Conclusion, mercifully, I don't know why I wrote it like that, but I'm keeping it. Mercifully, Epiphone should do more of this and own it. They go on and on and on about heritage and tradition and how they used to have just as big a dick as Gibson, but all their focus is on inspired by share my saliva. Fuck that. Put a Gibson-shaped headstock on all the SGs and LPs and 330 whatevers, and once and for all, conform. Like we all do after enough time has passed. Just Do what Squire did right from the start. Keep on paying the bills, because let's not fool ourselves. Cloning authentic is what actually pays the bills. But when you're done with that, please just do more of this. More of you. Who are you, Epiphone? What are you? This is what you are. And casinos and cornets and wheelchairs and the Jack Cassidy bass. I would love one of those. Just stop hiding under Gibson's dress. Alright, that's it.
Epilogue. Epilogue. The video. The motor sound. In tune. Demonstration. The calibrations is the very precision. Übung macht die perfekten. Y esto would be one koto. And in tune. Pero the afinación en todo el video will be así. En español significa chupen gile. Bigsby stability for the Jacobson modality. And the people of the everyone. Jackbox and the two botones. Esta historia to be continued until you still to the filming. Es como una sirena, te vine a buscar. Te voy a seguir filmando. A ver esa cara que me odias. Retirada.